Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a midweek stream, which we don't usually do, but this is a new piece of content that I'm going to trial on my channel probably across the next 2 or 3 weeks, maybe not every week. But I just want to see if people have an appetite for a stream on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, around sort of 6, 7 p.m. UK time, just to answer your questions midweek. Some people can't wait until the deadline. Some people don't want to wait until the deadline. And some people just want to chat about FPL during the week. So if you're watching this back as a video, thank you for watching it as a video. If you're watching with me live, let me know where you're tuning in from. The idea with this stream is it will be similar to a deadline stream. However, it will be slightly different because I'm going to try and keep it a little bit more structured. So I'm going to try and do like 10 minutes on this section, 10 minutes on that section, so that when you watch it back, you can skip to the sections you want. I'll try and remember to timestamp it too. And I'm going to try and keep it shorter as well. It's going to hopefully be just under an hour, around an hour. And that means that when watching it back as a video will be possible. And even if you're tuning in live right now, you can still, again, watch it back as a video as well if you want to watch it twice. A lot of people commenting already. If you don't follow me over on Twitter, I had a bit of a mishap with my beard. So where is it? Is it this side? Which side? It's this side, isn't it? So you're not going to be able to... If I face this way, essentially, I dropped my razor when it was on setting 7, dropped the razor, and it was still going. And rather than checking that the setting was, I picked it back up and just started using it immediately. But as I dropped it, it knocked it down all the way to setting 1. And I shaved a bald patch in my beard, which you can't really see because it's the wrong side. Basically, I had to trim my beard very short to try and make it not look as bad. So I'm looking very bald. Bald. I'm looking very bald tonight, a little bit like an egg. But if we can avoid the egg comments, the Humpty Dumpty comments, I would appreciate it. But as I said, please let me know where you're tuning in from. Happy to already see over 600 people in here. It does mean a lot. And hopefully you enjoy the stream. What do we think of the short beard, by the way, and the very bald head? What do we think? FPL egg done. Great. I live in America. Yeah, a lot of people in the US. Hopefully this will be a good time for you moving forward as well. Be able to tune in. Norway. Easter egg Humpty Dumpty. Looks excellent. Okay, let's get them all out the way. Let's just get those jokes out the way. Right, I'm going to skip into it pretty quickly because I don't want to spend too long talking about my bald head. I've got a few decisions to make this week. So the first kind of section of this stream is just going to be talking about my team a little bit and what I'm currently planning. I will be answering your questions in the chat as well. I want this to be an interactive stream. I don't want it to be a live stream where I just talk and I don't actually look at the chat. So I'm going to answer your questions too. We're going to have a lot of discussion around which Brighton players and midfielders in particular to look at. And also we're going to have a bit of a discussion around captaincy. Should we be picking Matoma, McAllister, March, or potentially Tony, or the single game week players like Rashford, Haaland, and maybe Kane, and maybe even Salah? How much has FPL changed, by the way? A few weeks ago, picking Salah was considered a really strange thing to do. And now people are like, you have to bring Salah in. Salah's a captaincy option. This is how quickly FPL can change. And that's why we love the game, I guess. So, my team, very, very briefly. I wildcarded in game week 26. Do you know what? Let me show you guys. It didn't go well, did it? Let's be honest. But it was one of those things. On paper, I still think it was a good decision to wildcard. But if we quickly look at my points, it went very badly because I actually benched Matoma to play Maddison and Martinelli, which in hindsight was a bad decision. But I still believe on paper, for me and my team, made sense. Matoma got 1 tap in, but outside of that, he didn't do a massive amount. So he did have, obviously, 1 big chance there. Anyway, let's not talk about it in too much detail. 37 points. But that means because I wildcarded last week, the team is looking pretty good for this week. The only thing I need to consider is I only started with 2 Brighton players. So I've got a 3rd Brighton spot free. And I can basically bring in one of March and McAllister. And it would probably be for Martinelli. Now, I could keep Martinelli because Martinelli plays in game week 28 and he's got a very good fixture this week. But I would have to bench him this week anyway. So I could keep him for 28. And he's got Leeds in 29. The reason I'm currently leaning towards keeping Maddison, though, is he did actually look very, very good in game week 26. I think he was quite unlucky. The statistics, as you can see, 0.85 expected assists. He played very well. He also has a fixture in blank game week 28, and then he has the double in game week 29. Now, because he has that double, and I want to keep him for that double, I think it makes more sense for me to sell Martinelli. So I've got 2 options. I've got March, and I've got McAllister. And at the moment, I don't even know. I was going to try and give you a bit of insight as to what I'm currently thinking. Oh, the camera's lagging out. Let me give that a little reset quick. I don't know why that's lagging out so quickly. But at the moment, I'm currently planning on probably, oh, I don't know. I genuinely don't even know at this stage, guys. I was going to try and actually give you my opinion on it. But it will be one of McAllister and March. The benefit for March is that his data's much better. But the benefit for McAllister is that he's on penalties and he's actually got a much higher XG. So March's total stats are better. But I think that I like the fact that McAllister is a greater goal threat, and I like the fact that he's on penalties as well. So they're the things I need to think about. The camera will be back in 2 seconds, don't worry. I don't know why it's having a bit of a fit. I was just recording some videos before that, so maybe that's why. What do we think, chat? At the moment, for me, let me run a quick poll in the live stream. Obviously, I'll let you, if you're watching this back as a video, I'll let you know what the poll says. I'm just going to run a quick poll to see March versus McAllister. What do you think at the moment? So we're going to go Solly March or McAllister. Good to see loads of people tuning in as well. If you are enjoying the stream, please do drop a like. Make sure to subscribe too. I'm also going to add a neither option, just in case you would rather that. Also, what are your plans for this week as well? Let me know in the chat what your plans are. Again, if you're watching back as a video, let me know in the comments. What are you planning for 27? I think if you wildcarded in 26, your decisions are relatively straightforward for a lot of people. You probably don't have the decision that I have to make here. And I think if you didn't wildcard, then you're potentially looking at a wildcard anyway, or maybe just bringing in like one Brighton attacker. I know a lot of people are seeing the Brighton attackers as like traps and they don't want to move for them, but I think it's worth it. It is a really nice double. Again, we are going to discuss the Brighton mids in a little bit more detail in a second. Roll in the transfer. A lot of people are rolling the transfer, probably because you wildcarded into a good team. There you go, I'm back. Probably because you wildcarded into a good team last week. You're not facing the same decision as me. I should have, in hindsight, but also not necessarily hindsight, I should have chosen 3 Brighton players. I shouldn't have risked going for Martinelli. I should have just had Matoma and one of March or McAllister in place, as was the plan. I just tried getting a little bit greedy and tried attacking that Bournemouth fixture a little bit. So at the moment, 55% are saying I should do March, 33% McAllister, and 13% saying keep Martinelli. So the chat at the moment seems to think that Solly March is the one to go for. Sanchez. Yes, Sanchez is a problem. So I've seen a few people debating this. The issue with going from Sanchez to Still, so we'll look at that quickly now. The issue of going Sanchez to Still is, are we confident enough that Still keeps his place for every single game, or is Sanchez going to get the odd game? The comments from De Zerbi seem to be that Jason Still is the one at the moment and that Sanchez isn't going to get game time. But I don't know if we're confident enough. But he's 3.9 million. If you're bench boosting in 27, I would feel relatively confident after his performance in GameWeek 26. He made a couple of decent saves. I think there's a very reasonable chance that Still starts both games in GameWeek 27. If you're planning a bench boost in 29, though, it's a bit of a risk that you hope that he will keep his place for all of that time. Let me know what you think in the chat. Do you think Jason Still will keep his place? If you're not going for Still, you've got a few different options. I quite like Keylor Navas, and I feel like Navas is maybe going under the radar slightly. Forest have actually been defensively pretty decent. He's obviously got a fixture in Game Week 28 against Newcastle, which maybe isn't ideal. Maybe not the perfect fixture this week, but he does have a really nice double against Wolves and Leeds. So if you're bench boosting in 29, I really don't mind Keylor Navas. You could, of course, go for De Gea, but again, he doesn't have a fixture. Manchester United defence at the moment, after that 7-0 bashing, maybe not something you want to invest in. If you don't own Raya already and you've got a third Brentford spot, I suppose you could go there. I just worry slightly about Still. It does worry me that he might lose his place potentially. I don't know, for 3.9 million though, it's such an excellent price. You look different. Is that a fresh trim? So if you missed it, I had a mishap with my beard, so I had to shave my beard very, very short. So the new look is basically, my beard is basically stubble now rather than a full beard. Let me know what you think of it. If you hate it, you hate it. It's fine. But Navas, yeah, if I was bench boosting 29, I'd be very, very different. I'd be very, very, very tempted by Keylor Navas. Is it me or does he pronounce it as Still and not Steel? Oh no, not this again. This is like Will and Will. I think I've pronounced everything terribly. Right, so that's my team. That's my current thought process. I'm going to bring in one of McAllister and March. I just need to decide between McAllister and March. So the next section is discussing Matoma, March and McAllister and which one to bring in if you don't own any and which ones to double up on and stuff like that. This is the same graphic from the deadline stream, but I've updated the touch maps. I don't think a lot has changed when I'm looking at who I like between the three of them. I put out a tweet. Oh, that's out of... it's that way, isn't it? Sorry, you can see like the edge of my green screen there. I still think that Matoma is the worst of the three options. In hindsight, when I tweeted this earlier, if you follow me over on Twitter, you would have seen it. I said he's comfortably the worst of the three. That was a mistake in the tweet. I don't think Matoma is comfortably the worst. That was probably the wrong wording. But I am of the opinion that Matoma is the worst of the three assets if you have to select. But what I also put in the tweet, and people seem to just ignore this part, is all three are fantastic options. I love Matoma, March, and McAllister. And if I were wildcarding this week, I think I would drop Estepinian, and I think I would be going for all three midfielders. I just think they represent such excellent value. And then you can jump off them on the likes of Martinelli, Bruno Fernandes, whoever you want to move to. There are some midfielders over the coming weeks that look really good. But Matoma, for me, is the one that you don't probably want. Just the statistics just aren't good at all, which we're going to look at in a second. But he does pass the eye test. And something that I have to consider is, yes, he passes the eye test more than March and McAllister. And yes, he is arguably the best of the assets. If you're looking at the best footballer, the most clinical, the most likely to finish a big chance, yes, it is Matoma. So I'm going to accept all of that. But I am a channel that is driven by stats, and I like presenting stats to you guys, and I like trying to be as objective as possible. And Matoma's stats are not good, and we're going to look at those in a second in recent weeks. Across the season, they're okay. Across the season, they're not bad at all. But in more recent weeks, if we're trying to look at subtle changes and recent trends, Matoma's data is a little bit worrying. March has got the best data, but it's made up a lot through expected assists. And then McAllister has penalties, which is massive. He's playing in the number 10 role. And when he plays in that 10 role, he's such a goal threat. The issue with McAllister is that he can drop into a more defensive role. If they want to play Welbeck and Ferguson alongside each other, it will be McAllister that drops a little bit deeper. If they want to play someone else in that number 10 role, maybe they want to try Matoma in the 10 role, which they did in the Cup, then again, it will be McAllister that drops deep. But at the moment, I'm thinking there's probably little chance of McAllister dropping deep. I just feel like as an asset, he's just been so good. Ignore FPL for now. Just as a player for Brighton, he's been so good in that number 10 role. It doesn't make a lot of sense for Brighton to drop him, I don't think. So these are some of the things that I'm thinking about at the moment. I think that really you need to think about the way, I want to be careful about the way that I wear this. You need to think about the way you want to play the game. If you want to pick the best player, the most exciting player, the best player to watch, the one that's passing the eye test, and the one that has got a lot of returns recently, Matoma's your guy. He really is. If you're more driven by data and you do trust expected data and you want to know who is getting the big chances, who's creating the big chances, then March and McAllister are the ones to go for. And I'm okay with either way. If you tell me that you hate expected data and that you need to look at who's the most clinical player, then yeah, go for it. Like, I'm not one of those people that love stats so much that I can't understand when people go against stats. Like, I only recently started using stats about 18 months ago, so I understand if you don't want to. But for me, this is what my channel is built around. I will delve into the statistics. And March and McAllister, as you'll see in a second, my God, like, they are so good. Does XG take into account shot accuracy? What does that mean? So you can get a statistic which is expected goals on target. So basically once the shot has been taken, expected shots on target, it's basically once the shot has been taken, it then accounts for it once again what that is. Or you can just have XG, which is from the position it's taken. So XG doesn't take into account the shot after it's left the player's foot. It's from the position it's taken and from where the players are, where the goalkeeper is, stuff like that. Got good reasoning, can't go wrong with any of them. Jay says, I don't think you can go massively wrong with any of the Brighton midfielders. I truly don't. And again, I think that's where I went wrong with my tweet. I made the tweet sound like I thought Matoma was a terrible option. Matoma is a great option. I just think that at the moment, March and McAllister edge it for me. Does the PhD in dribbling give extra points? So Matoma does have a PhD in a dribbling-related thesis. So maybe that does. Maybe that does give him extra points. Estepinian does have clean sheet potential and is attacking, so he's essential in my opinion, Ben says. Yes, Estepinian is a great option. My worry with Estepinian is that he might miss a fixture in Game Week 29 because he's playing in Argentina 3 days before the first fixture of Game Week 29. So if you didn't know this, there's an international break between Game Week 28 and Game Week 29, and Estepinian plays in Argentina 3 days before the first game of Game Week 29. So if there is a player that's potentially going to miss one in 29, I suppose it could be Estepinian. But we might just see rotation in general post international break. So why is the live stream today? This is just an extra live stream. So if you've just tuned in, I am trialing out an extra live stream, just 1 hour from 7 till 8 midweek. It won't always be on a Wednesday. It won't necessarily be every week. I just want to see what the appetite's like, see how many people tune in live and just see whether people enjoy watching it back as a video as well. So I like to try and keep stuff fresh on my channel, and I really enjoy live streaming. I love the fact that as I'm talking here, I can look at the chat and see what people think. That's a real thing that I love about that. So yeah, like, speak in the chat. Let me know what you're thinking about everything. So this is kind of just my general thoughts around the Brighton players. You can see the touch maps as well. My chair's blocking it slightly. If I just turn that way a little bit, you can see the touch maps are promising for all three. Matoma, March, and McAllister all get a lot of touches in the box. They're all playing very advanced roles. At the moment, McAllister's role is just impeccable, but we know that he can drop a little bit deep. The next thing I wanted to look at is the actual statistics. So what I did is I've just briefly, not in tons of detail, just briefly prepared a little table here, which is looking at the Brighton and Brentford attackers that you might want to consider ahead of the double game week. And I've actually got the data here. I don't usually do this, but of a much smaller sample size from game week 23 to game week 26. So I'm looking here at since McAllister started playing the number 10 role for Brighton. Now, the reason I've done that is McAllister's obviously, his role's changed completely. And since then, the stats have been unreal. But also, I feel like I don't like looking at small sample sizes, but you also don't want to just change the sample for McAllister. If I just change it for McAllister and then keep a massive sample size for the other players, it's maybe not as representative. So ideally, I would never use a sample as small as 23, 24, 25, and 26, which is 4 fixtures. But it gives us a little bit of an idea about, in very recent weeks, who are the players that are really impressing us. So what I've got is the price, the projected points in game week 27 as per Fantasy Football Hub, big chance involvement per 90, which is basically big chances and big chances created combined, and then non-penalty expected goal involvement. And then as you can see in that final column, I've got the opponent XGC rank. So what that is their expected goals conceded. It gives you a bit of an idea about how good they are defensively. So the assets that I've got here are Ferguson, March, McAllister, Matoma, Mbeumo, and Tony. And as you can see quite clearly, and my God, these stats are ridiculous, Solly March is just absolutely smashing it, right? 1.3 non-penalty expected goal involvement per 90 since game week 23. They are ridiculous stats. He's involved in 2.47 big chances per 90. Now, by the way, if you're wondering why sometimes Fantasy Football's Hub's stats are slightly inflated, they have their own expected assists sort of formula, which takes into account fantasy assists. So sometimes the expected assists are slightly inflated. But 1.3, it's just so good. It's absolutely ridiculous. I think that McAllister's are also really good, and we'll delve into this in a bit, but a lot of McAllister's is made up through expected goals as well, where most of March's is made up through expected assists. But as you can see there, by some distance, the best underlying data here is March and McAllister. All right? So if you want to pick based on the data, I don't think you can overlook those two. I've just seen a massive super chat donation, by the way, from the main man Kamer. Thank you very much. Bench boost is the question. I'm going to discuss that in 2 seconds, and I will give that enough thought because of the very generous super chat. So thank you, my man. I appreciate that. So March and McAllister are the two. However, there are some other people putting up some pretty good underlying data with a double game week. And Mbeumo and Tony, all season now, have been putting up very similar data. So as you can see here, non-penalty expected goal involvement for Mbeumo and Tony, both around 0.65, 0.7. And all season, Mbeumo has done very well. So what I'm wondering is, if you already have Tony and you're looking for a second striker, or maybe you don't want to go with Tony for some reason, maybe your mini league rival owns him, Mbeumo could be a cheeky punt. The thing we've got with Mbeumo is quite similar to what people are saying with Matoma, but I guess the opposite. Mbeumo's not clinical. He probably won't take a lot of the chances he gets, but he is an absolutely excellent option in and of his own right for 5.8 million. So if you're looking for a cheaper asset, I really don't like Mbeumo, but Tony's the one to go for, really, because he's also on penalties as well. So we've got non-penalty data here, but Tony is on pens. So I like Mbeumo and Tony, March and McAllister. I'll go to Ferguson next, and I'll finish on Matoma. Ferguson's data is fine, especially for 4.6 million. So as you can see here, 0.52 non-penalty expected goal involvement for Ferguson. Really good data. My issue with Ferguson is also minutes. Welbeck looks really good. Will Ferguson start every game? I don't know. Do you need him to start every game for 4.6 mil? Maybe not, right? Maybe you don't need to do that. And if that's the case and you're happy if he doesn't start every game, then maybe Ferguson could be a decent shout. But I just prefer the 3 Brighton midfielders plus Estepinian slightly more. Finishing on Matoma. Now, I would like to start by saying across the season, Matoma's data is actually all right. There's no issues for me with Matoma's data across the season. About a 0.5 non-penalty expected goal involvement. However, since game week 23, which is when McAllister moved to the number 10 role, Mitoma's data is 0.33 non-penalty expected goal involvement, which isn't just average. That's actually really, really poor. That tells us that every 3 games, if he plays 90 minutes, he's going to get you 1 expected goal involvement. Now, again, you might not want to pay much attention to that. You might not care about expected data. You're probably on the wrong channel if that's the case. But Mitoma's data is not good at the moment. And I know his data actually looked relatively okay in game week 26, but remember, he got a tap in from like a yard out, and that inflates the data massively. It was about a 0.8 XG just through that one chance alone. So I just don't feel like Mitoma's getting in the positions to create and to score goals at the moment. And March and McAllister are. You can see their data is just so good. So it's not, again, it's not me having an issue with Mitoma across the season. It's more so that March and McAllister look so good. McAllister's on penalties, March is on corners, and lately Mitoma's just not getting any chances to score goals. I know he has got a few returns, but they've been fairly low XG opportunities apart from that one recent tap-in. So there we go. I don't want to keep banging on about the stats too much because Mitoma is a bit of a stats buster so far. He's looked fairly clinical and he is an excellent player. I just wonder if everyone's piling on Mitoma, right? He's underlying data might not care for some people, right? He's getting points and he's clinical and he passes the eye test. I'm just wondering, is there an opportunity to bring in and captain someone like Solly March? Because a lot of people aren't going to look at March this week. McAllister 14 points, Mitoma 13 points, Solly March 2 points, 3 points. It wasn't 3 points for Solly March. No one's going to consider him this week as a result. People are interested in what happened last week. And March actually put up good data in game week 26. I'm wondering if there's an opportunity there to bring in and captain March. Or potentially McAllister. So there are my thoughts on the Brighton mids. Let me know in the chat, what do you think about those thoughts around the Brighton midfielders? I'd be very, very interested to hear what you think. So DJ Hammer says, Mitoma is the mini Son, somehow always returning even though he gets one shot a match. It feels like he could be. And I was wrong on Son last season. So if you watched my videos last season, I didn't bring in Heung-min Son for like the 6 or 7 game weeks. Do you remember, was it around sort of game week 25 to 30? Son went on this run where he got like 15, 16, 18 points in like the space of 3 weeks. Everyone captained him in one of those weeks. I didn't bring him in because his data was very poor. But what Son continued to do is just bang in the goals. I suppose my argument with why Mitoma might not be Son is we don't have much to support that Mitoma can do this long term. Heung-min Son for 3 or 4 seasons now, maybe not this season, but for 3 or 4 seasons has put up exceptionally good XG delta, which is basically he outperforms his XG. So every season, Son shows he's a clinical finisher. His conversion rate is great. Mitoma, we just don't have enough data to suggest that yet. So what we might be seeing with Mitoma is more of like a hot streak, which we saw with Almiron. Remember when Almiron was scoring loads of goals earlier on in the season? And we've seen with like the likes of Lingard in the past as well. So I wonder if with Mitoma, are we seeing more of a hot streak and less so of a player that will continuously overperforming his XG? It's more of a rhetorical question. I don't know the answer to that. I can't predict the future. Right, I just want to get back to this super chat because it was very, very kind to talk about it. So bench boost. I'm not going to bench boost this week myself, but I think there is something to talk about with the bench boost. So what are the benefits of a bench boost in 27? The benefits of a bench boost in 27 is that at the moment, we don't have any major key injuries to most of the players that we'll own. And there's a big gap between now and game week 29. So we've got a few days now until game week 27 deadline. We've then got another week until the game week 28 deadline. Then there's an international break in between game week 28 and game week 29. So not only do we have like 3 or 4 weeks now until the game week 29 deadline, we've also got an international break to deal with where a lot of players might pick up injuries, niggles, there might be rotation. Waiting for a bench boost, not only where it's in the future, but also right on the back of an international break is risky. So I looked into it for my team. The expected value of playing my bench boost in 29 above 27. So EV, or expected value, tells you the value of making the set of moves that you plan. So if you've got an EV of +4, it would tell you that by making that move, you're expected to gain 4 points. My expected value above and beyond the 27 bench boost by bench boosting in 29, I'm looking at gaining about 6 to 8 points, which doesn't sound like a lot on paper, but I feel like you also have a higher ceiling with a bench boost in 29 because you've got more fixtures. The issue with me bench boosting, for example, in game week 27, I've only got 4 fixtures. Now, you might have a double game week keeper on the bench as well. You might have like Steele and Raya. So you might have 5 fixtures. But in game week 29, you could potentially have as many as 7 or 8 fixtures. But again, it is a long time in the future. And it might be that by the time 29 swings around, let's say Tony picks up a suspension, one of my Brighton players gets injured, maybe one of my Arsenal assets gets injured as well. And then maybe 2 or 3 of the players we're worried might be rotated post-international break. My team might be in a position where it's actually really struggling for 29. So I do genuinely believe there is a lot of value in playing the bench boost this week. But your bench would need to look better than mine. What I think your bench would need to look like is something like that instead, right? Not Maddison, someone like Martinelli or Ødegaard on the bench. And then hopefully a double game week keeper instead of Kepa. So maybe if you do bring in Still instead of Sanchez, if you've had Sanchez, then that would look nice because you've got 5 fixtures then. You've got 2 Arsenal assets against Fulham and Botman against Wolves at home. I would predict that's a 15 to 20 point bench. So basically, yes, I really like Bench Boost 27, but for me and my team, I'm planning on playing it in 29. Let me just see if I can show you what the bench would look like. That's not going to work, is it? That's not going to work. I'll show you in 2 seconds what the team's going to look like in 29. Oh, I don't know why it's popping up there. I'll show you in 2 seconds what the team will look like in 29. But it's going to be a fairly good bench, right? I'm expecting it to be kind of 5 or 6 fixtures minimum, probably 7 fixtures, and looking fairly strong as well. Let me move that over. Hopefully you are enjoying the stream. If you are enjoying the stream and you're watching it live or as a video, wherever you're hearing this, could you please drop a like on this stream as well and make sure to subscribe too. And if you're enjoying this as a video, please comment down below and let me know that you are watching it back as a video and you're enjoying it. Like I said, I'm just trialing this. If people don't enjoy it, then I will not. I will not do it in the future. If people do enjoy it, then I absolutely will continue streaming in the future. If you were to wildcard this week, what would you change? I would change absolutely nothing apart from I would definitely have, obviously, instead of Martinelli, I would have, let me get Martinelli back in the starting 11, actually. Instead of Martinelli, I would definitely have a Brighton midfielder. And I would maybe go for triple Brighton midfield, potentially. So I think I would probably be looking at March and McAllister in for Matoma and Martinelli, personally. And that would be the team I would rock with. So let me bring Martinelli into my 11. That Matoma and Martinelli, I would have this exact team. I would just switch them for March and McAllister. That would be the way that I would play. But again, I know a lot of people are absolutely loving Matoma at the moment, and that's fair enough. Like, he's a really good option. So the next thing I want to discuss then is captaincy. So we've discussed my team for the first 10 minutes. Then we've looked at the Brighton midfielders and the Brentford attackers. I've discussed them in some detail. Captaincy is the next tricky one. What do you guys think for captaincy? Who are you currently planning on captaining? Let me know in the chat. Let me know down below in the comments if you're watching as a vid. Is there any issue with holding the bench boost for 29, even if we have a strong bench this week? No, I think it's fine. I think it's fine. Even if you have a strong bench, the expected value is slightly higher in game week 29. You do just have a bit of a wait in between game week 27 and game week 29. So don't be shocked if it goes a little bit terribly and you actually have to maybe take a -4 hit to sort out your bench is the only risk. I'm going to run a poll as well. Oh, that's really... Wow. I reckon that's going to be pretty even. Lots of Tonys. Tony and Matoma in the chat look like the most popular ones. Who will you captain in game week 27? Tony, Matoma, March... If you're not captaining one of those 4, I do apologise. YouTube only allows you to have 4 options on the polls. If you're not, just vote for the one that would be your second option. And let me know in the chat if you're not captaining one of those 4. Who are you? I've seen a few cheeky punts on Estepinian. I don't hate it. I've seen a few people saying they're going to go single game week like Salah or potentially Kane or Rashford. Again, I don't hate it, but I'm always going to back the double game week player. So let me go back and I'll explain where I'm currently stood with this. At the moment, I would say I'm 50-50 between Tony and then whoever I bring in out of March and McAllister. Again, I know Matoma is a great option. Captain him all you want. For me, I'm going to go with the data. So it will be one of Tony or March and McAllister. I know March and McAllister have better data, but what we've got with Tony is three things. 100% nailed for 90 minutes. Very, very good at taking penalties. I'd expect him to score any penalty he takes. And decent data too. And we know that his data is consistent across the entire season, whereas March and McAllister have seen a really big boost recently. So we know Tony will maintain pretty good data. We know Tony will get chances. So it's almost like the safe option is with Tony. I feel like March and McAllister have the highest ceiling at the moment. I feel like they could go... We've seen, even last week, the Brighton mids can go absolutely nuclear. A couple of 14, 15 pointers, you could be looking at a massive score. Whereas Tony's going to have to get a ton of goals to replicate that. And this is why I love captaining a midfielder, because Matoma, March, McAllister, they only have to do a little bit to get a huge score. Like a goal and an assist, you're looking at 14 points with a clean sheet point, a maximum bonus. Like, that's a serious score. Whereas for Tony to get 15 points, if he gets a hat-trick and full bonus, he's only on 17. Versus, like I said, Matoma or McAllister only have to get a goal and an assist for 15 points. For 14 points. So you have to do less to get quite a few points as a midfielder, I think. So that always makes me lean towards a midfielder. When we look at the expected goals conceded since the World Cup, so just to give us a bit of a bigger sample size, the expected goals conceded for the teams that Brighton and Brentford play. For Brighton, Crystal Palace and Leeds, it's 14 and 18th. So 14th and 18th are Crystal Palace. Is it Leeds and Palace, isn't it? It's Leeds first. Yeah, Leeds and Palace. So 14th and 18th, they are two pretty rough defences, right? They are not good, particularly defensively, post-World Cup. For Brentford, their two fixtures, let me just double check, Everton and Southampton, right? Yeah, Everton and Southampton are 15th, so Everton have not been great. Southampton, post-World Cup, have been the 5th best defence in the league, according to expected goals conceded. So Southampton are actually relatively tight at the back. And I know they've been beat quite comfortably by quite a few teams, but I don't necessarily think that Southampton look like a team to target at the moment, especially under new management as well. So I actually wonder... Oh, the camera again. Honestly. Don't know why it's going. I do wonder, are the fixtures better for Brighton? And especially as one of those fixtures is at home as well. So what do you think? Has that changed your opinion at all, looking at that? Also, I've seen a lot of people are saying that Tony's on. What about Tony's yellow card ban? Tony's only on 8 yellow cards. So even if he gets a yellow card in the first game, obviously if he gets a second yellow card in the second game, then he'll miss game week 28 and the first fixture of 29. But no matter what happens, unless he gets sent off in the first fixture, Tony's yellow cards won't be an issue for game week 27. What do you think about Ward-Prowse as a punt? Yeah, I don't mind Ward-Prowse. Obviously, the missed penalty wasn't great, but he's on penalties, he's on free kicks, he's on corners too. It's not a great double for Southampton, but I don't hate Ward-Prowse if you want to. This is assuming you've already got the Brighton triple up, though, because I would definitely prefer March, McAllister and Matoma, personally. I can't understand how Southampton have had the 5th best defence stats-wise since the World Cup. That's wild. I know. Their expected goals conceded have been super strong. But again, not necessarily the way that that's played out. But I do think under new management, they were a little bit better against Leicester, but they did concede quite a few chances regardless. So we'll see. Tony's expected goals away from home isn't as good. This is true as well, and it's 2 away fixtures for Brentford. That does worry me slightly. Have you got any planned transfers this week? Yeah, I'll go back onto my planned transfers in a second. It'll be one of the Brighton midfielders. Raptor, where is your camera? I'm just resetting it 2 seconds. It gets a bit overheated. Ross, my sister says she thinks you're cute as hell. Does she now? How old is she? Is she around my age bracket? Give her my Twitter. Give her my Twitter. She can slide into the DMs. Always go with a mid and a nice home fixture. Again, this is something else. Nice home fixture and a midfielder. Then when you look at March also has the best data and McAllister also has penalties. I feel like there are just a long list of reasons to go for Brighton midfielders at the moment, but Tony is so reliable. And again, Tony is so good at penalties. If he gets one, he's scoring. He gets a lot of big chances. Every time I go with the data, I get burned. Oh, hello. I will admit a lot recently that the data's betrayed us a little bit recently. I will admit that, but I don't think that I don't think the take-home message is that you shouldn't trust the data. Keep doing midweek streams, but don't clash with Black Box. I scheduled my stream 5 or 6 hours before Black Box, so that wasn't on me. That was on them. They do it on a Thursday, sometimes they do it on a Tuesday. I'd already scheduled mine for 7 p.m, so they scheduled it at the same time. But yeah, I will try in the future. I'll speak to Az and Mark, and I'll try to ask them ahead of time when they'll be streaming. Absolutely. Play Tarkowski or Saliba. Kane or Haaland to Tony for a -4. I wouldn't sell Kane before Forest. If you're going to sell one of Kane or Haaland, it would probably be Haaland for me. Play Tarkowski or Saliba. I think I would go Saliba myself. Arsenal are just the better defence. They're the better defence. Raptor, you're looking fit. Thank you very much. I think people like the short beard. I've had a few compliments, potentially. Okay, apparently the sister is 12, apparently. In that case, definitely no DMs involved. I don't want to be demonetized and arrested, thank you very much. Erdegaard to Matoma for a hit. I plan to captain him. My opinion around hits is always, if you're planning on captaining the asset that you're bringing in, it always makes a hit more worth it for me. So yes, I like that for a hit. If in your opinion it gets you the best captaincy option. Ross, where the hell is your cap? What do you think? Is it good or bad? Sometimes I don't always wear the cap, but I feel like maybe I should. I've got a cap next to me if you want the cap. No, I'm going to keep the bald head out tonight. Oh, smack the mic. I apologise. Is Brennan Johnson a good player for Game Week 29? Brennan Johnson's going under the radar at the moment. He's got so many points recently. Let's take a quick look at that. I think it's something like, across the last 8 game weeks, only Haaland has outscored Brennan Johnson. I'm sure I saw someone say that on Twitter. Let's have a look at Johnson in recent weeks. Brennan Johnson, and again, he's on penalties too. Yeah, look at Brennan Johnson's 4 points against Southampton, 12 against Leicester, 5, 9, 2, 2, 2, 13. I think that must be for forwards. So maybe the only forward to outscore Brennan Johnson in the last few weeks is Haaland. I like Brennan Johnson. And again, that double, that double for Forest is going under the radar in 29. Wolves at home and Leeds away. And then Aston Villa away in Game Week 30. I would be tempted. The issue that you've got with Brennan Johnson is this week it's against Spurs, which I guess isn't a terrible one, then Newcastle. So not necessarily the best option for the next two. But someone to consider. If, for example, Tony does get booked and is suspended, or maybe even for Haaland in Game Week 28, you could think about buying Brennan Johnson. I don't hate that as a punt at all. Are there any other cheeky differentials we're considering, chat? And again, if you're watching this back as a video, let me know in the comments. Is there anyone that's taken a cheeky punt, or are we all just loading up on Brighton assets and Brentford assets instead? Castagna? I like... Listen, you guys know I love Castagna. I've had a very loving relationship with Castagna over the season thus far. João Felix is a cheeky punt. I like João Felix. Ollie Watkins, again, plays Bournemouth at home in 28, Leicester and Chelsea in 29. But I like the fact that Villa cover you for all of the upcoming blanks and double as well. You always miss my super chats. I haven't missed a super chat, have I? No, I've not. You must be trolling. I've just had a look. On my wild card, would you pick Mohamed Salah versus Bournemouth or Ward-Prowse for 3 fixtures, 2 Brighton, Rash, Saka? I would pick Mohamed Salah, personally, instead of Ward-Prowse, and I would then move Mohamed Salah to someone else in 28. So you would still get the fixtures, you're just booking in a transfer. But to be honest, I think my midfield 5 on a wild card would be March, McAllister, Saka, Rashford. Right, those 4. And then the 5th one would either be Matoma, if you want to go for triple Brighton attack, or someone like a James Maddison. So I wouldn't be going for Mohamed Salah or Ward-Prowse on a wildcard, personally. No one is choosing Palace assets they could be interested in, says Steep T. Yeah, they could be. They've not been great, though, Palace. Elise, okay. 2 people have said they're picking Elise. I don't mind that. Could be nice. Salah and Darwin will be good differentials, Frosty. I have no doubt about that. Salah and Darwin are going to be good differentials this week. Leicester midfielder who's not Maddison on the budget. I would have said Barnes, but he was hooked at half-time. Was it half-time? Or it was early at least. I think it was half-time in the Leicester-Southampton game. I think it's Maddison or no one for me. But if you do want to take a risk, it would be Harvey Barnes. You could go for Iheanacho if you want to, but obviously he's a forward. A couple of people saying Danny Ings. I love that. What a punt that is. Let's have another look at the double for West Ham. Do you know what? Let's have a look at the forwards, actually. Let's have a look at the forwards based on transfers in this round. Who's in demand? Tony, obviously, is the big one. Darwin, Mbermo, Watkins, Johnson, Ferguson. Danny Ings is down there, but only 8,000. So, obviously, the only issue with Danny Ings is he blanks in 28. So, if your team's looking fine for 28, great. Or if you're planning a free hit in 28, fine. Then Southampton at home and Newcastle at home. 2 home fixtures in game week 29. And he's got Fulham and Bournemouth in 30 and 32. I don't mind Danny Ings. I don't mind Danny Ings as a punt. João Felix does interest me as well. If you look at his data, in a couple of the games it's been exceptional. In a couple it's a bit low. It just worries me that generally Chelsea don't create that many chances. Generally Chelsea are a team that aren't going to put up crazy numbers. So yeah, that does worry me slightly. Just for the final 18 minutes, chat. If you can... Let me get this up. Let's just see if we can get a few more people watching. Is this the one? Go and retweet this if you can, chat. Just go retweet that tweet which says I'm live. Just helps to maybe get it out on Twitter a little bit more. See if we can get a few more people watching. Salah is your punt for game week 29. He does have a double. Salah does like a big fixture too. Who knows? Jared Bowen. I really like Jared Bowen as a punt as well. Absolutely. I just wanted to show you as well quickly. I've run a few polls. So just because Twitter's obviously a bigger sample size, whereas the sample, it's going to be there's only a few people in the chat tonight, so it's not going to necessarily be the biggest sample. I run a... Happy International Women's Day, by the way, if you're watching this and you are a woman, then thank you for being here and happy International Women's Day. Where was the poll? Was it today that I ran the poll? Oh, here. So this was the first poll. Which combination of Brighton midfielders will you own for game week 27? So you can see Mitoma and McAllister 17%. Mitoma and March are owned by is going to be owned by 48%. So let's say half the sample on Twitter, which was 12,000 votes, are going to be going for Mitoma and March. 13% for March and McAllister, and then only there's 21% will be only one or all three. Looking at the comments, that will be about 21% of people will just have Mitoma. So Mitoma is by far and away the most popular Brighton asset, then followed by March, then McAllister. So if you want to be protective and you're interested in protecting your rank, then the safe options are Mitoma and March. If you want to go differential with it, it will be March and McAllister will be the two to go with, because that's the lowest combination. So I found that a little bit interesting. I also did a poll earlier in the week where I was looking at captaincy. Here we go. This got 15,000 votes, so again, a very big sample size. We've got Tony on 55%, Mitoma on 28.9%, and then McAllister and March split on 8%. So again, even with captaincy, March and McAllister offer a really nice option if you want to take a risk this week on captain. If you want to go safe, you should be captaining Tony or Mitoma. So, I mean, take your pick. Take your pick. There are some really nice options regardless, I think. I don't think you can go wrong with any of those 4 players, probably. Oh. Sanchez to Steele or Sanchez to Raya, bench boosting in 29. Raya, just for safety. I probably prefer, like I said, I prefer the double for Brighton, and Brighton are the better defence. It's just a slight risk. If I knew that Steele was starting both and you only need, and and you only need them in... I'd actually, sorry, it's for 29. I would definitely prefer Still, but it's just a risk. So if you know that you only need them for 29 and you are confident that Still keeps his place, go Sanchez to Still, Ben. But I wouldn't be confident enough, so I would be tempted by Sanchez to Raya. But it's really not a great double, is it, for Brentford? It's not a great double at all. So maybe take the risk with Still. Ross, can we talk about saving the wild card? I was speaking about this earlier with another FPL manager, and I was thinking, if I didn't... say you don't need the wild card this week, and say you didn't play it last week, I still think game week 28 is a really nice time. I don't mind game week 29, but remember, if you wild card in 29, you can't bench boost. That might sound like an obvious point for a lot of people, but you can't wild card and bench boost in the same week. So I would just be careful that you're not going to try and do that. If you've already used the bench boost or you'll use it later, I don't mind 29. If you don't play it in 28 or 29, I think you could probably keep it for game week 32 or 33. But I think most people have probably used it already or are going to use it this week. Would you bench Maddison or Watkins? I would bench Maddison. I would start Watkins. I think it's a slightly better fixture, and Watkins has looked good. And Watkins is on penalties as well now, which is a big boost for him. Ross, can you bench boost and take hits? Never see any other content to talk about this strategy. I would view the bench boost and taking hits separately, unless you are taking hits to get a bench boost. If that's the case, then you need to take that into account in your points. Because if you've taken a minus 20 to get a bench and your bench scores 22 points, then really you've gained 2 points by bench boosting. So it depends if the hits is to build a good bench. And if so, I would never take more than a -4. And ideally, I wouldn't take a hit if you can. Because you're just taking points off of the bench boost, essentially. You want to try and bench boost in a week where you don't need to take a hit, which again is the issue we've got with bench boost 29, is that it's a long way away and we might have to take a hit to get a decent bench. Miguel says, I've got the same team as you with 0.7 million in the bank, very behind in my mini league and 3.3 million rank. Should I be buying differentials and taking minor hits in a dash to the top? Now, I would usually say don't stress too much about taking risks. Don't stress about your rank and just play the game. But at 3.3 mil, you sound like you're a fair bit behind. Yeah, have some fun with it. Don't take risks just for the sake of risks. But if this week you think someone like Matoma and McAllister is a good captaincy, March and McAllister, I should say, then they're going to be very lowly owned and captained. It could be a really nice play. So by all means, take that risk. I don't hate that at all. You should be quitting FPL. Thank you, Thomas. I appreciate the support. Thanks. Does Brentford / Tony's goal scoring form away from home worry you? So Brighton aren't fantastic. Brighton aren't fantastic away from home, but they're actually okay to fixtures. So it wouldn't worry me too much, but that is another thing that's leaning me towards captaining one of McAllister or March. So if you've just joined the stream, I'm planning on doing Martinelli to one of McAllister and March. You'll have to tune into the team selection and deadline to see where I am at that point. And then I would probably captain whoever I bring in. So my captain is going to be my transfer, probably. You're now my favourite channel. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And thank you all for being here as well on a Wednesday evening. I know it's slightly different. We'll see how it goes moving forward. But I appreciate everyone that is here. I really do appreciate you. Is a -4 bench boost worth it in 29 if the hit is Zinchenko and Saka to Shaw and Bruno? Is a -4 bench boost worth it in 29 if the hit is Zinchenko and Saka to Shaw and Bruno? Yes. I don't mind that at all. I will probably be doing something similar. I'll be looking at very, very similar transfers. But again, you are taking out Zinchenko and Saka before Leeds at home. So it is a good fixture for those two. You don't necessarily need to do like the Saka to Bruno move. You could just keep Saka and bench boost with Saka. I don't hate that. But I feel like Zinchenko to Shaw for free, I like that one a lot. And then Saka to Bruno, it's up to you. If you think Bruno will outscore Saka by 4 points, then go for it. That's the simple way to do it. So undecided if I should play my wildcard. I want to save it, but I'm getting FOMO. As long as you've got 3 or 4 double game week assets and the team's looking decent, you don't need a wildcard this week. Absolutely don't. But I just feel like, when are you planning on playing it? I wouldn't keep the wildcard for a future week you might want it. I would look, is there a week where you can see yourself needing it? And if not, I would probably pop it this week. But I feel like wildcard 28 works really nicely as well, if you want a wildcard in 28. which is obviously not this week, next week. What happened to the beard? I had a beard accident, and I basically, you won't be able to see it very well, but I attacked the beard with the lowest setting. So I had to pretty much shave it off to hide it slightly so it didn't look too weird. But yeah, it didn't go well. I had a bit of an accident with the beard, let's just say that. So now the beard is very short. Would you play Martinelli or Watkins? I would play Martinelli, Luke, I think. However, Watkins is on pens, but I just think Martinelli, good data. Obviously, like I said, I do tend to favour a midfielder if I can, especially if I think there's a decent chance for a clean sheet in there too. Are you bench boosting? I'm bench boosting in game week 29, so no, I'm not bench boosting this week. Why captain Tony? The Brighton midfielders have a higher ceiling. I assume you've just joined the stream. I'm not captaining Tony. At the moment, I'm not planning on captaining Tony. I'll probably captain one of March and McAllister, whoever I bring in. If we go back here again, March and McAllister just stand out to me as two players with really good stats. Raptor still has the best facial hair of all FPL content creators. Thank you. I try my best. I try my best. Any idea on how likely it is that Leeds versus Brighton will be postponed? So it looks like it's going to snow in the UK this weekend. If you're not from the UK, you might think, well, why does that matter? The UK basically goes into complete shutdown when there's any adverse weather at all, whether it's rain, cold, snow. So there's the chance that Leeds are travelling to Brighton, right? It's at Brighton. There's a chance that if the fans can't get there and all of the trains are disrupted, it could be a postponement this week. So that might lean you back towards Brentford, but it would have to be pretty severe, and they would try and avoid it, I think, nonetheless. So it doesn't worry me too much, but maybe we just keep a third or fourth eye on the weather and see what happens. It's in Leeds. Oh, is it in Leeds? So anyway, basically the travelling fans, whichever way it is. March never scores in March. I did see this stat. I've checked the forecast for Leeds. Sleet for Saturday afternoon there. Yes. Damn, I've just joined, but I'm going to watch the replay. Raptors the GOAT. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate it. Yeah, it'll only be an hour long, so watching the replay won't be a massive issue. Hopefully it'll be nice and short. Like I said, if you are enjoying the stream or the video, depending when and where you're watching this, please do drop a like. Likes really help to support the content. And also make sure to subscribe as well. We are on the road to 65,000 subscribers. So it would be nice to hit that at some point soon. Me or Trent? I would go Ben Mee. I would back the double. But Trent has been looking a lot more attacking in recent weeks. And Liverpool look a little bit better defensively. Is saving a free transfer in this game week a good idea, Ross? If you're happy with your team, absolutely. Don't be tempted into making a transfer if you think your team is good. You don't have to have 6 double game week players from Brighton and Brentford combined. If you've only got 4 but you're happy with them, that's fine as well. Raptors is going to analyze the weather's underlying data to check for its threat for Saturday. Should I look at the expected rain? I'll get some stats ready for the deadline stream. Expected rain, expected snow. Estepinian to Henry Pinnock and Sanchez to Raya for -4 long term. I sort of get why you would want to do that. I would probably just do Sanchez to Steele and hope that he starts regularly. Hello, Raptor. Bench one of Saka and Rashford. Man United are struggling a little bit at the moment, so I would probably bench Rashford and keep Saka. And start Saka, I should say. But I don't like the idea of benching Rashford against Southampton at home, particularly. Although, again, Southampton's defensive days is not terrible. Expected precipitation per 90s over 1. You're damn right, Cameron, it is. Don't forget the eye test. Again, eye test is good. Yep, could be looking at the eye test for the weather. By the way, I think some people misunderstand when I'm talking about the eye test on Twitter and YouTube. I love the eye test. I think it's just as important as stats. My issue with eye test with tweets and videos is that me saying that Matoma passes the eye test. Like, how do you know that? What does that even mean? Like, I can't tell you what I'm seeing with my eyes, whereas stats are very objective. So I can just sit here and present the stats to you and say, this is what the stats are saying. So we've got about another 2 minutes of this stream. Let me know what all of your questions are. I'll try and fly through a couple more questions. And again, before you leave, make sure you drop a like and subscribe as well. But PSG or Bayern, who have you got? I'm going to go PSG. We'll see. Although my predictions haven't been very good recently, so probably Bayern. Can you share a wildcard draft and Burmo and Tony an option? The wildcard would be very similar to my team. The only difference is, like I said, I would have March and McAllister instead of Matoma and Martinelli. That would be my team if I was wildcarding this week. Maybe you don't have to have Maddison. Maybe you could switch Maddison to someone else because Leicester still don't look great. But yeah, it would be March and McAllister in for Matoma and Martinelli. Sanchez and Pope, rolling goalkeeper transfer through to 29 for more information. Agree? Yeah, I think so, Frosty. If you're bench boosting in 29, apologies. If you're bench boosting in 29, you don't need to deal with Sanchez this week. And I know it means you have one less player. It's not the end of the world. This week is such a headache. It is for some people. Some people, it will be less so for others. It depends when you wildcarded and what your team looks like, I guess. Turns out Matoma over Haaland was worth it, Ross. It was. I made a mistake there. I should have started Matoma. I've learnt my lesson. Are you selling Haaland for the blank? I will be selling Haaland for the blank. I'm probably looking at Haaland to one of João Felix, Watkins. Probably not Iheanacho anymore. He's just looked really poor. Like, he's just not clinical. But probably Watkins, Felix, or Brennan Johnson would be the three. But it will probably be one of Watkins and Felix I sell Haaland for in Game Week 28. Which will be exciting. Selling Haaland always feels a bit dodgy. Dave says, in Game Week 29, the plan is to bring in Bruno and Shaw, creating a triple Manchester United versus Brentford. Would you consider some Chelsea assets? Probably Brentford as they're on the road. I think I would consider Chelsea assets. I think if you've not already got Kepa and you need a keeper, that's fine. Chilwell looks really decent at the moment, especially if Chelsea continues to play a back five. And I really like João Felix as well. Although Havertz is on penalties. Did you see the tweet, by the way? What a thing to finish this with Reece James could be on some penalties as well. So Reece James, if he can stay fit, could be a nice option. If Havertz isn't on the pitch, it sounds like Reece James is second in the pecking order for penalties, which is just absolutely ridiculous. I just can't wrap my head around that at all. Reece James just stepping up and putting a penalty in the back of the net. It's crazy. Imagine a Reece James 15-pointer where he slots a penalty home. Yeah, it does feel like Reece James bait. We get this occasionally, don't we? We get this Reece James bait where a lot of people are tempted to bring him in because he's on penalties or he's playing as part of a back five or X, Y, Z. And we have all of these reasons to potentially bring him in. And it always ends up being a trap, unfortunately. Will there be a deadline stream? Yes, there will still be a deadline stream. This is just an extra live stream, a bit of bonus content, I suppose. It's going to replace the Game Week preview this week, but not every week will that be the case. Not every week will that be the case. Do you think you've slipped from 1k to 40k because of your decisions or bad variance? I would say a combination. I've made some poorer decisions post-World Cup, but I've also had a fair chunk of bad luck as well. So a mixture. You don't. It's not all luck and it's not all skill, is it? Bonus content, what a legend. I try my best. No, we'll see, we'll see. Right then, guys, because the Champions League is starting now, I'm going to cut it there. That is going to be the end of the stream. I know it's a bit shorter than it usually is, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this. And if you do want to see it in the future, let me know in the comments if you've watched it as a video. Let me know on Twitter and stuff if you enjoyed the stream, and maybe it'll be something we do in the future. In the future, I'll make sure I don't clash with Black Box as well, and I'll make sure I don't clash with other streams as much as I can, and I'll try and find a slot that it fits in. So thank you very much for watching. Do tune into the team selection video on Friday and the deadline stream on Saturday. But until next time, thank you very much for watching. Cheers. Goodbye.